Hi guys and gals, today we're gonna talk about the shoulder. We're gonna do presses. This time we're gonna use a barbell. I already have a video with a lot of details about shoulder press. I performed the shoulder press with a dumbbell in that video, and I tell you why I prefer to do it with dumbbell compared to barbells, and I tell you what injuries you can cause when you do the shoulder press with a barbell. Although I'm not an advocate of doing shoulder presses with a barbell, but still, if you want to do it, I'm gonna tell you how to do it, at least with the least amount of injuries. So if you want to learn more about the details and the technical issues that the barbell has, you better check that video. This video we're not gonna cover the technical aspects to that extent, although we're gonna still cover them, but we're not gonna go through the scientific details. We're just gonna talk about the things that are rationally acceptable and without using the jargons and things related to the anatomical structure. So without further ado, let's get to it. First of all, as mentioned in that video, the freedom that you have with the barbell is a lot less. The reason is because you're holding something that doesn't move, and you do not have that much freedom either in the shoulder or in the wrist and in the elbow, and you cannot perform it based on your capabilities, based on your flexibilities. And aside from all of that, it's also really hard to understand whether you're doing the exercise symmetrically. So for example, if one side is stronger than the other side, unless you're in front of a mirror, you're not going to understand it. So you're just gonna bring it up and you don't know whether one side is higher and doing the majority of the work and this side is just using the momentum or not. So these are the main factors that you should consider. A lot of people get injured from doing barbell shoulder presses, and the reason is this exercise is already putting your shoulder into an impingement position. So when you're doing the exercise, even if you go out, it's still the probability that you're gonna cause inflammation and just do a lot of damage to your shoulder is a lot, even if you use a dumbbell. If you're just, fast, if you do not control it right, if the form is bad, if you're not warmed up enough, the probability that you're gonna get hurt from this exercise, again, even if you do it with a dumbbell, is really high. And when it comes to the barbell, because of the reasons that I mentioned, it's gonna be a lot harder. So, how can we do the exercise to perform it the best way and get the best out of it? First of all, the bar that you choose, make sure it's not that much thick. So do not choose the Olympic bars. Let me show it to you. So, this is an Olympic bar. As you can see, it's a lot thicker. And this is a normal barbell, which, as you can see, doesn't have that much thickness. The reason that the Olympic bar is thicker is because that bar is for exercises like a squat and deadlift, and you can go a lot heavier compared to, like, for example, a shoulder press or a bicep curl. So the Olympic bar is gonna be thicker and this is a little bit thinner, so we're talking about the circumference. And because of that, it's gonna be better for the shoulder because of stability reasons, flexibility reasons, and overall you're gonna be able to clench your fist more, so you have more control over the bar, and the more you clench your fist, you're gonna use your shoulder a lot more. When you go really thick, the risk of the bar falling down on you is gonna be a lot more, so the normal bar is alright. How you should position yourself when you're doing the exercise. So, if you go wide, first of all, make sure it's symmetric. So there are usually lines in here, so make sure you grab them by the line. So whether you put the pinky finger or middle finger or whatever on one side, make sure it's the same for the other side as well. So This time we're gonna go wide. You see, when I'm all the way down here, the position that my elbow has and the hand has is a little bit awkward. And when I come up, it's a little bit better, but still, as you can see, my wrist is in an uncomfortable position because it's just too much abduction or bent from the side. So it can cause injuries to my wrist, it can cause injuries to my elbow because it's not in a position that I'm comfortable with, and also the shoulder is in a vulnerable place as well. You need a lot of thoracic extension to go wide. So majority of people do not have a good thoracic extension, meaning they're just in a hyperkyphotic or curved position on the upper back, and if you want to go wide and do the exercise, you're gonna cause a lot of damage to your shoulder. Even if you use a dumbbell, you need to stretch the chest and go into an extended position and then do the exercise so the shoulder is healthier and you can get the best range of motion. So the more you're like this, the range of motion is going to be less, the risk of injury is going to be more, and the more you push the chest forward, the shoulder back, range of motion is going to be improved as well. So no matter how wide you go, how narrow you go, whether you use dumbbells, barbells, resistance bands, whatever, push the shoulders back. But still, if you go wide, you can cause injuries to your shoulder and a little bit to your wrist as well, but not to that extent. Now let's talk about what happens when you go narrow. So again, we're gonna make sure that we're grabbing it in a safe way. So this time we're narrow, although the shoulder is a little bit comfortable on the way down and the elbow is also comfortable, but the wrist is not comfortable. The reason is when the arms are this close to each other, the wrist doesn't want to be pronated this much, meaning rotated to our back. So when we are in this position and we're using a bar, we're forcing our hands to be in this shape, and that can cause a lot of injuries to our wrist, although the elbow and the shoulder are not in a bad position here on the way down. But as we try to go up and we go all the way here, as mentioned in that video that I have with the dumbbell, and I tell you that the correct way to use the shoulder muscle or the deltoid is to go out. It's gonna be, first of all, safe for the shoulder, and second of all, you're gonna use the shoulder because when you're here, you're not using the muscle because the weight is just on your body. But when you're here, you need to resist it from falling down, so the shoulder is used. So because of injury and keeping that constant tension, it's not good to come here. And when you go narrow, you come in here, so you're causing a lot of injuries here. And although going wide with the barbell is not gonna be needing any extra work from your shoulder because you're balancing it out. It's not just from one side with like a dumbbell, you're balancing it out. So it's just based on the safety matters that we say you need to go a little bit up. So again, going narrow is not a good option. Going wide, again, is not a good option. Going narrow is a lot worse for the wrist. Going wide is a lot worse for the shoulder. Now, a lot of people I see bring the thumb back, and although that's a good option, it's gonna give you a little bit more mobility of the wrist. But the problem is, first of all, the bar might fall. So it's you're not holding it really tight. The bar might fall down, and it's at the top of your head, so it can cause injuries. But when you're using a dumbbell, first of all, you don't need to bring the thumb back because you can move it. And second of all, if you bring the thumb back, even because the dumbbell goes out, even if it falls, it's not on your head. Anyway, also, when you bring the thumb back, you tend to bend the wrist more, because when you're holding it like this, the risk of falling is a lot. Even right now that I do not have any weight on the bar, it's hard to hold it like this. I'm using a lot of fingers, so it's gonna be hard. So you need to bring it back to hold it, and that's gonna cause, again, a lot of problems on the wrist. So where should you position your body and specifically your hands while doing the exercise? Just go a little bit wider than the shoulder width. So if this is your shoulder, just open up your hand, go out, and make sure both sides are the same. And to be sure that both sides are completely the same, do not check like this. Come to each side and be 100% sure that both sides are the same. You're gonna grab it, make sure the wrist is not bent. Here, in this position, my wrist is still a little bit uncomfortable. Also, my shoulder is not in a good position, so this is not a place for me to start. Also, as mentioned in that video, going all the way up is also not safe, specifically for my elbow and also the wrist a little bit. So we're not gonna go all the way up. Here is good, and we're not gonna come all the way down. So we're gonna come from the chin. So in this position, the wrist is good, the elbow is not too much back, it's a little bit forward. So this is bad, this is good. Keep the wrist steady and not all the way. This is good. Again, slowly down, up, slowly down. Also, try to do this exercise in front of a mirror so you can check whether there is any symmetric imbalances that you have. But as mentioned, this is not the best option. It's really good to use the dumbbells, but from time to time, if you didn't have any equipment, if, I don't know, you were just training with somebody and wanted to give it a little bit more challenge, this is good. As mentioned, a little bit wider than the shoulder width, and from the chin all the way to a little bit flexion of the elbow, so not fully straight. And make sure you do not go heavy with this exercise. And as mentioned, keep the thoracic extension. And also, as a last note, make sure the knee is not fully straight, or in another word, make sure the knee is slightly bent as well. That's gonna absorb the impact from the bar onto your spine and onto your hip and in your entire body, so the joints are not that pressured under the bar, so you're gonna absorb it. And aside from that, make sure that if the bar is a little bit heavy, or if you do not have that much core stability, you put one leg back, one leg forward, again both of the knees bent, and come a little bit back. This way it's going to be healthier for the shoulder, and at the same time you're not going to need to have that much thoracic extension, so the range of motion is going to be a lot better as well.